The following campaign was chosen in a poll by Patreon supporters. Its cast of characters populated by Patreon supporters. And you can become a Patreon supporter today by visiting patreon.com/Terrible Warriors. Today on the Terrible Warriors, we play a game chosen by you. Overwhelmingly, you chose Noirlandia. Noirlandia is an independent game, recently celebrating a very successful Kickstarter. It's a different sort of game. It's a game where you never know what you're going to play until you start playing it. One of the reasons is because Noirlandia does not have a GM. At this point, I can't even tease ahead what the story will be because we don't even know what city we're playing in. We don't know the investigators, and we are unaware the details of this murder. But one thing is certain. At the end of this 90-minute episode, we will have met 4 investigators, a city that is corrupted. We will know its 4 districts, and in the center of it all, someone will have died. And it will be up to our 4 players to solve the case before the city plunges into chaos. So join us on our discovery of a mystery as Justin brings together his investigators in a crime that will rock the very foundations of our city not yet invented. And those investigators who will run against time to solve a murder, they are your Terrible Warriors. Welcome to the Terrible Warriors. I'm not your GM for today, Justin Ecock, because for this game, we're not playing a game that requires a GM. That's kind of weird and different for me. I'm relinquishing my power to the table, and I don't know how that's going to work out for me yet.
He's so unhappy about it.
So, you, our dear Patreon supporters, if you're a Patreon supporter, we put up a poll last month with 4 choices and 4 games to choose to find out which game we were going to record today. And lo and behold, you chose Noirlandia. And before we get to introducing the game, I'll introduce to you your investigators for this game. Sitting around the table at my left, your right, we have live now in Toronto from our Edmonton crew joining us right here at my table. It's really kind of exciting for me.
Hello, my name is Milton from Milton's Milton Factory. No, it isn't. It's Shane Fitzgerald. Shane Fitzgerald from Circuit 42 and, of course, the Edmonton crew, the Terrible Warriors.
Fresh off The Secret of Cats.
Yeah.
And now we're, and now you're here playing Noirlandia with us. It's really, you told me you were going to be in Ontario for a few months, and we've been trying to get this the schedule to work out, and here you are.
Yeah.
No one else from the regular crew was able to make it, so they clearly just heard you were coming, and they needed to stay far away.
Oh,
so I have instead, from Terrible Warrior Classic Past, live from our archives, pulled out of the vault. They actually were locked in a room back at our old studios, and we just freed them.
It's cold.
Emaciated but still barely hanging on, we have from our Monster Hearts and Pokemon game, welcome back.
Hello, my name is Shane, a.k.a. Christian Alucard Christ the Second.
No, I think you were the third.
The third?
It was definitely the third.
Also, not during your parade, but I'm from a place colder than you.
Oh, really?
Yes, I'm from a place called Fort McMurray.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, I know.
Well, there was a period where it wasn't very cold.
Oh.
I got 2 Shanes from Alberta in the room here.
I know. What have we done?
60.
No offense.
None taken. It's okay, you got the Oilers.
We don't need no water.
Too soon.
Edmonton has the Oilers. We have enough to be offended about.
So, also famous for introducing a Weedle with Kanye shades.
Weedle. No, that's Money Shot.
That was Money Shot.
I still don't forgive you for killing him. Like,
It was your fault.
No, there was no save. It was just like Weedle fell in a vat of acid and he died. I'm like, what? No, he's dead. I'm like, but Weedle, like.
Julian just kind of shrugged his shoulders and went, that's some breaks.
Football man.
I love that you got a Zapdos out of that, but it's still your Weedle.
We need to do a memorial episode for all the Pokemon lots.
Rest in peace, Money Shot.
Like the Oscars in Memoriam, black and white slideshows.
Can you name any other Pokemon from that episode? There's Money Shot and there's
Well, there was Jigglypuff at the very end that got vaporized.
Oh, yeah.
We only remember the ones that died.
And my Venusaur.
I'm pretty sure I had a Vulpix, but that's like it. I don't remember what I had at all.
It's great. It's like every year he drops roses on the very spot where Weedle died. Meanwhile, Zapdos is behind him like, hello, legendary in your back pocket, motherfucker.
And you've been hearing her comment. We have also returning to the show from Storytime with Bree.
It's true. It's Bree. I'm ready to make bad, mostly in-game life choices. Poison. Yeah.
So the beautiful part of Noirlandia is there's no prep work involved. I have read through the rules as many times as I can, and we're going to learn this game together, and we're going to play this game for the first time. But where we start, we have nothing. But by the end of this hour, we will have a city, we will have our characters, and we will have a victim, and we may have done the first few scenes. I don't actually know how long this game will go, if we'll make it to our 4-hour arc, and if not, we'll stretch out the epilogue, or if it ends really fucking quick, we'll just do another investigation. Or if it goes over, we might have to end early. But the game has defined time when it ends, and the rules roughly say it takes 4 hours. So hopefully that works for us. Noirlandia is about a city that is corrupted, and it's about 4 sometimes strangers who are all connected to the death of a character. They might not be law enforcement or private eye or anything like that, but they are characters in a noir-ish style setting who are so affected by the death of the victim that they will go to any lengths to solve this crime. Depending how it goes, they might work together or they might work entirely on their own. As the investigation progresses, we have we'll be posting pictures up on our Instagram page. On the back wall, we have a cork board. And this is mostly for us as the players to keep track of all the things we're going to be finding, but we'll also be describing it as we go. That cork board is going to fill up. Each corner of the board will be a district in our city, and at the center will be where our victim goes. And as we find evidence called leads, they're going to be pinned up on the board depending on the district they associate with. And then as we go through our investigation, we'll be able to connect those leads together to bring us closer to the truth. And that's what the string is for. And we're going to be pinning string to leads, and it's going to look like a conspiracy theory map. It's going to be hopefully really interesting. But what's a little scary is right now there's nothing. We got nothing. So I've got a deck of cards over here. And I've got the dice. I actually was a Kickstarter backer for Noirlandia, and this pack we're playing with, this is the dice and the cards and the cork board. Everything we're using was included in the box they sent me, which I've been very excited to play to try this out since then. So I'm gonna roll these dice. We're actually gonna be sharing these dice as we go through. As we go around the table because of the number of black and white dice they have.
Justin was curious. Do those dice have like a taste to them?
Oh, no.
Oh, that's a topical joke for those who are tuning in years later. The Nintendo Switch just came out, and we have been licking cartridges before we start our game because that's how I get my kicks in the morning now, is licking Nintendo Switch cartridges. It's better than coffee. So
It's about as bitter as coffee.
no, it just tastes like regular dice.
Okay, curious.
Boy.
I licked the white
We
dice.
definitely saw that.
So our first step is
I always seem to be present for all the dangerous precedents that get set on this show.
our first step is to find out which city we're playing this game in. And this city really can turn out to be anything. And we are going to decide as a table if it's going to be more realistic or more
He's
outlandish.
specifically looking at Bree for all our
Specifically
listeners at
looking
home.
Shane.
Which one?
Yes.
It's just Shane
So
City in here today.
maybe the city started with the best intentions. Maybe it was rotted from the beginning. But it's clear that corruption has taken hold. On everyone's character sheet, you're going to record down that the city is corrupted by pride. That's the number that we rolled. And we'll name the city at the very end when we've figured out everything else. So pride is what has corrupted our city. That's kind of interesting. It could have been technology or extravagance or deception or isolation or
Shane,
apathy.
why are you looking at my sheet? You can't cheat yet.
A pride of
No.
lions.
Oh, no.
Technology, extravagance, deception, isolation, pride, or apathy. We rolled pride. So take a moment to think about what the implications of a city corrupted by pride might look like.
Bioshock?
So we have
That's what everyone's
right. We have 4 questions
That's
that
actually
need
not
to be
bad.
answered. We can go around the table, but I would prefer if we got 4 questions, we got 4 players. So if one of you answers one of these questions, just hold off and see if someone else can answer another question after that. So the first question to ask about this city corrupted by pride: how are the city's people unlike us?
They're always on chemicals of some sort.
They're all
Like you wake up, like imagine we have coffee in the morning and we have like scotch for the night.
they're never sober.
Yeah, it's like you're like taking like super caffeine in the morning and then like super downers at night. Like every like day-to-day interaction is based around like
You take that Jonathan Colton, your steak tastes better pill.
yeah,
you're-
it's like,
Yeah.
like, I got
well,
to
did
work.
you-
I got to take my
like-
focus drugs.
Like We Happy Few, is that what that
Is
game
it-
was
Yes.
called? Yeah.
Is it that
Yeah.
everything is regulated with medication, or is it that
No,
the
not-
culture has
the
it
culture.
that everyone just
Everyone does
is
it. So
always
it's not-
shooting and
it's not-
drinking and
it's not run by like the city. It's more so like if we want to get ahead, if we want to be accepted by our peers, if we just want to fit in, like is this expected that we're going to take some type of chemical to do that well, or at least like relax well? Like you don't
Oh,
relax.
so
by,
less like Sybil system. Like you have to be on all this like psychopaths.
Yeah.
Like
No,
more.
it's
it's not regulated.
Yeah,
but
more
it,
just-
It's like, hey, we're chilling out.
Everyone does it.
You be the weird one if you're like, I'm just gonna be sober and meditate. We're like, okay, we're all going to take a bunch of opium and chill because this is how people chill. I'm not saying we have to do opium. I'm just saying like that thing.
yeah,
Let-
everything in the city is self-medicated.
Yes.
So, like it's the-
Uppers, downers, medication.
Yeah, it's
and
sort of-
everyone knows, but like, and law enforcement kind of looks the other way.
I don't think they
a
care.
no,
little
there's
bit,
no
but-
law enforcement against.
No,
there wouldn't
Yeah.
be.
No, it's like us in snack food.
but it's not regulated.
I'm not sure if that has to be a thing. Like you can have like above street like things that you'd grab, and then you like go like to the corner and get like the extra special shit.
Okay, so what we're gonna do now, because what's happening here is we're starting to debate over the element
Okay,
we've
okay.
developed.
Yeah.
So that's this is an important part of Noirlandia and how to solve debates and how to end those conversations so that we don't go around in circles, not being able to settle on. We have everyone is on chemicals, is our element that we have done. Now Shane's brought us index cards, and if you could write at the top there, everyone's on chemicals. Just write that at the top. Don't put any bullet points onto that. But whenever we need to clarify this element, whoever owns that index card is going to be able to have the first and final say. We can talk about it as a group, but whoever comes up with it will be the person who owns that card, and they'll write it down, and that's now canon in the world. You came up with this, Shane, so I'm going to let you have that index card. So you have control over this element of our city that everyone is on chemicals. This is your idea. We ever have questions that come up in the narrative where we need to clarify, is it regulated? How is it expected in the culture? You can answer that question. We'll write that down, and that'll be canon.
I'm
All right?
excited about this.
The next question about our city. What do the buildings in this city corrupted by pride and chemicals look like? This is a city where everyone's on drugs, voluntarily, recreationally. A city corrupted by pride. What do the buildings of this city look like?
I would think that a city corrupted by pride would have be very appearance oriented. So maybe
I was thinking Blade Runner, actually. I was thinking billboards everywhere. I was
Okay,
thinking advertising for all these chemicals and for the caffeine and the pills. Like, if everything's so legal and so open and so accepted, everyone's cashing in on it. And a city corrupted by pride is a city corrupted by advertisers.
that's good, but I'm also thinking mix that with the old style, like the style that you see in the old movies and stuff like that, where it's all the pristine like skyscraper.
Like an Art Deco,
Yeah,
the animated Batman.
But I
or
was-
Bioshock.
Yeah, like that.
The first thing I thought of was everything is mirrored. Right? Like everything is mirrored, right? Everything's really appearance oriented and everyone's high all the time. Why don't you just cover everything with mirrors?
All the shiny lights.
Oh, everything. It's
And then you can
reflective.
see yourself
There's
in
just
everything.
mirrors
right?
and reflections everywhere.
Mirrors
Well,
and
if it was
reflections.
mirrored and it was like Art
So,
Deco and it was banners, that mean everywhere you look there'd be like ads off the mirrors, which would increase the ROI on those ads because you'd see it more often.
So King Kong's climbing the Empire State Building and does a line every now and then.
Well, I'm not going to judge.
So we want to
Yeah.
do we can do the advertising idea, which is interesting, or we can do the city of mirrors, which is another idea.
I think the city mirror sounds really badass.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do that.
So a city of mirrors.
City of mirrors.
Write that down on the index card, and let's give that one to Bree.
I like
Okay.
how we're letting Shane write these things because.
It's okay. We'll post this up on Instagram later, and you can see what the writing actually looks like.
Oh,
It's a bad idea.
Oh, I'm going to be putting this into like an envelope and scanning them in and putting them on so that people who want to play through our investigation will have all the elements they
Oh my
need to create
God.
the leads.
In that case, Shane needs to write everything.
Yep.
So a city of mirrors. That's for Bree.
it.
The third question here about this prideful city: how did the corruption take hold? When did this city become so corrupted by pride, and how did that happen? We've got mirrors everywhere, and we've got chemicals. And I don't know which came first. Maybe let's also, you know what? Let's throw in. I'll take the index card for billboards. Billboards everywhere is a billboard, and because I do like. I think that's a logical step
like that.
for everything chemicals. Everything's vanity, so everything's like fashion and clothes and new things and yeah, but I mean, we've got different districts of the city, which is going to be interesting. How like definitely there's going to be different classes, and not everyone can afford this lifestyle that everyone pretends to have.
This kind of sounds like a variation on a small musical people may know called Repo.
Oh, the genetic opera.
Yeah, like replace body
I definitely
modification
did.
with
I definitely
rapid-
did not used to shadow cast.
So how
that.
did the corruption take hold then? The pride, did it happen because of plastic surgery?
Well, okay, not plastic surgery, but I think it'd be more along the lines of like, at some point, some companies like, yo, you need this drug to be happy.
This city wasn't always prideful.
No, I would
It
say
didn't
they
always
probably
have-
humble. You know, people go, well, Shane, other Shane. Just so you know, there's two Shanes. There's one Shane without a beard, and there's one Shane with a beard.
How did this corruption in the city take hold? I'm thinking perhaps imagine this city before the chemicals, before the mirrors, before the advertising. Why did this? Did a company move in? Was
Or
there
they found a stash of super drugs somewhere in the city.
was there a new invention or a new thing that came onto the or just a change in the laws?
Ooh.
Someone just came into town one day and said, "Is a man not entitled to the sweat of his brow?"
Wow.
So this city is a city covered in mirrors. This light reflects off of everything.
It could be a city where like the sun stopped rising and like they needed to increase like light by the mirrors and had to work longer hours.
Oh, the corruption took hold because the days were getting darker.
Yeah, like, you know, it's getting darker. We need more lights. We add mirrors.
The days are
and,
getting
like,
darker, the days were getting colder, and people started medicating because of seasonal affective disorders.
Yeah, no, that could be like.
Oh my God! Why are you looking at me?
No, the city,
Winter never ended.
the city has no sun, and we're all high, and there's mirrors all the time.
Why doesn't it have a
So
sun?
suddenly this city is in Nunavut, I guess.
No.
This can be
Wars
anywhere.
with robots.
I'm
We
just
blacked
saying,
out the sun to kill the robots.
at Game of Thrones, no one questions why there's like 13-year summers. So winter came, the days got shorter, and then they never got longer again.
I would say that'd be a thing.
like that.
Yeah, it's like it's the mirror. Like it's also frost. You know, there's mirrors. There's like lights everywhere because like there is no sunlight, so we need to like maximize this light usage. So like the light windows reflect the mirrors reflect everything. Like kind of.
So it's a coping mechanism for the dark days.
Well, they are kind of all dark days, aren't they?
So
I like that.
the city of mirrors is a city in darkness.
Cool.
Okay,
I go
so
with that.
this is getting real neon.
Wait,
Who wants to have? So the corruption took hold out of a coping for the fact that the days were just not getting longer anymore. The sun went away and it never came back.
the
Which was really
sun-
just like our February
So-
in Toronto.
Yeah.
Let's be honest here.
Yeah, we're actually recording this in the middle of like a horrible cold snap after a really warm week. So maybe this is just like therapy for us.
When I looked it up, I think we
I
had
know,
like,
it's adorable, isn't it?
-10. The world is coming to an end.
No, Shane,
Oh,
I
God.
always say it's not that it's that cold. It's
Meanwhile,
that
people-
it was that warm and then it got that cold, and it's the transition, the shifting
also
back and forth.
Justin and I are from
you-
southern
Meanwhile, people are
Ontario.
born in
I-
Ireland. It doesn't get
Meanwhile,
cold at
Albertans are
10.
Meanwhile, Albertans are like walking to the bus stop at -30.
Yeah, like minus 15. You're like, oh my god, it's short. It's like shorts and like a light
Aw,
jacket
muffin.
weather. Okay, anyways, I got.
All
this,
right, show off your masculinity.
I got the sun went away.
The sun went away. We can
Shane.
give that to
you
Shane
go.
because
Okay.
all of us now have one index card. The final question for our city in darkness, in mirrors, in chemicals. What laws do the people live by? Because the city has to have laws, or there wouldn't be a crime to solve.
I would think that if like the entire city's on some kind of drugs, that laws would basically be dictated by the pharmaceutical industry.
Well, the drugs were obviously decriminalized at some point, but what other laws would they then live by? Would there be
Like, don't get caught.
would there be bylaws about appearance, dress codes? If this is a city of mirrors, everyone's watching you. Everyone's expecting you to live up to how the city expects everyone to be. Or is that going too far? Or is that just not interesting?
It's band sweatpants.
I feel like we do, like, we say appearances have
So
to
are
be
we
X,
basically
Y, Z.
saying that the law in the city is the fashion police?
Oh my God, I love this city.
Says the person in the no skin leggings.
I went to fashion school.
Yeah. It's like, when I mentioned I was watching the Oscars, you're like, the red carpet's the only last thing I haven't cut away from fashion school life.
I did.
I mean, the fashion police is kind of fun, but I mean that's
Yeah.
going to be that's going to obviously change the tone of the game.
Yeah.
Do we want that to be our tone, or do we want the laws? There's obviously no drug laws, or there wouldn't be a culture of recreation so openly and advertised. The mirrors are an interesting thing.
You've seen Demolition Man, right?
The mirrors make me think that there would be laws about appearance, though.
Yeah.
Demolition Man, go ahead.
Yeah, like the way I see it, like the road we're kind of going down is
Justin just made a very
Drugs
wild
are
hand gesture.
decriminalized, but everything else in life is puritanical.
exactly.
There's no swearing. There's no talk about sex. There's no talk about politics. There is only the surface. There
So
is
you're tripping balls, but at the same time
tripping
you're polite
balls.
as fuck.
You're polite. Nothing is ever impolite. Nothing is ever. You ever get serious. You never talk about anything like that. You only talk about how's the weather, and the weather's always it's cold and dark.
Because the route that we're kind of going down is if
It's almost like
if people
Quaker,
are-
but
if-
with drugs.
if people are chemically controlled to be like proper and like emotionally controlled, then if somebody's out of control and they're swearing and they're being violent,
There's no
then
impulses.
obviously, exactly.
So all the laws are impulse control. No swearing. No sex. No.
So am I just writing Demolition Man?
It just okay. Demolition
I want
Man.
you to just write impulse and then put a big like cross after it.
Or just put impulse in
is funny.
brackets, like in Demolition Man.
This is funny because Shane runs a party called Impulse.
Yo, don't take this from me.
Are we gonna call
Okay,
this?
okay.
Are we gonna call this
Impulse-free
Noirlandia
zone.
Impulse Control?
Yes.
Okay, I'm calling
And we're
this
just gonna
Impulse
take
Control.
the logo from the Impulse events?
Impulse party and
Okay,
just like throw it in there
I will
and cross branding.
grant you rights to use my logo for this.
We don't have to do that, but
No, it's cool because then you can use like pictures of brie and latex and things because it's already on the poster. It writes itself. Impulse control. Copyright.
If you look up that party and you're scandalized, I'm sorry.
Copyright.
only in Toronto.
Shane Phillips.
Okay, so we've got our city, we've got our questions answered. We feel this city. Do we want to name the city now? Our city of pride, of mirrors, in darkness, puritanical laws, and advertising everywhere.
Toronto.
How to make your life better. We can't call it Toronto, but we could.
As a guy who works in the advertising industry in Toronto, I'm just saying
This does feel like
This-
this does feel just like Toronto.
this feels really hitting close to home right now.
Yeah. This city might not have always even been called this name. This is the name that it's now called. And like there in the example in the book, a city where everyone wore masks and everyone hid their identity and everyone was anonymous and they were always called the actors, is what the citizens were called. They called their city Diligentia. You had to be diligent. And so the name of the city could be on the nose, right?
It'd be ironic.
We could just call the city Reflections if we wanted to.
The City of Lights.
Yeah,
Wait, isn't that an actual place?
City of Lights.
Yeah, that's New York.
Isn't it LA?
Paris.
Or Paris?
Everyone is like, I have no idea. Please stop.
Oh no, LA City of Angels.
No, I think the City of Lights is Paris.
Why don't we call this city Sunrise?
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
There we go.
The city of Sunrise. that it never does.
The city of sunrise. Sunrise City. Hey, hey, hey.
What if it's the name of the city and then like welcome to blank the Sunrise City?
Yeah.
So this is the Sunrise City, but we still got to come up with
the actual
what's
name.
blank and what welcome to Narcolepsia, the Sunrise City. Kind of is a weird thing.
I kind of like it.
You guys are setting a high standard for me when I go back to Edmonton.
Okay,
You realize
This is
Narco-
the
is it
problem.
you are raising the bar.
Narcophilia, or so what's
Narcolepsy,
Narcolepsy.
is the condition.
We're not gonna call it narcolepsy. but-
Narcolepsius.
Narcolepsis. Or we could call it just Calypso, the Sunrise City.
Sure. Let's do
Yeah, I
that.
like that.
Yeah.
CLIPPPSO.
Calypso. What have you? I was just thinking of Twisted Metal.
I think I wrote Calypso.
Excellent. Calypso, the Sunrise City. So this is a city in denial. Let's just all admit that part. Step 3, we're now going to form our districts, and now we're going to start putting stuff up on the corkboard. And the city is going to be divided into 4 districts, represented by the deck of cards, actually, which we're going to, if you could shuffle this, Shane, while I'm describing it. The city is broken up into 4 districts, represented by the 4 suits in the cards. And as we shuffle and we draw leads and characters, that'll determine which district they're from. But first, we need to determine what those districts are. They are always going to be broken up into the categories of the downtown, Skid Row, the outskirts, and the upper crust. So remember we talked about what the city looks like and how the structures define each district, though. So this is a city covered in mirrors and advertising. So what would downtown look like?
Basically Tokyo, but covered in mirrors.
And for this, we're actually going to start writing. This is going to be going up as a lead. So let's grab the index card here, and and is there a marker or something I can use? I'm going to just grab this purple one.
Here, I'm just going to give people piles of cards.
Yeah, sweet. So downtown is hearts. And it's going to go up on the top right of our billboard. So downtown is... what do we want to... How do the structures in downtown look like in this prideful, mirror-filled chemical city?
I would say like stacked and
Yeah, just like
Tall.
like buildings
Like,
on
yeah.
top of buildings because they've run out of room and they're just building new things on top of old
And
things.
they're all lit up, right?
Yeah, and
Like, it's
everything
almost
is
like-
covered in a
I know
mirror.
almost like
that-
the sun.
It's almost like, there's no sun in the city, but it's always bright downtown.
Yeah, you look downtown.
It
like,
never
looks like the
sleeps. It's
sun.
never dark. And everywhere else in the city, it's like the glow that comes out through the clouds is just like a burning light. The downtown.
Like
it burns.
everywhere has neon, everywhere has sounds, everywhere is trying to like compete with everywhere else to
What do
be.
people refer to when they say they're going downtown in Calypso?
Go and check out the sunrise.
What, do they,
Head towards the light.
Toward-
We're heading towards the light. But well, we can worry about the slang and like the individual words a little bit later. But like, what would be like how we have like our entertainment district and the theater district and you know Murder's Alley? Like, what would downtown be called? This place kind of seems like exactly that stereotypical like almost. I'm thinking Tron here. Like,
You call it like the light bulb.
the light bulb, yeah,
the bulb.
the bulb.
Like we can take light out of it.
The Corona. The core.
Toronto.
You say
Why don't we,
Corona and I'm
why
just
don't we
thinking
refer
of
to
shitty
downtown
beer.
as the core? And
core?
it's just the core of the city. And it's where all the light comes from. It's where all the advertising. It's
that.
all
Yeah,
the
yeah.
finances, right?
Yeah.
This is the tallest, brightest buildings are in the core.
Yeah.
And it's downtown, but it's so much more functional because remember the puritanical laws too, right? Everyone's on drugs, but no one's talking about it. So
Well, it's easy to not talk about it when everyone is like noise polluting over each other. You can't hear anything anyway.
core, just we've got this idea. It's like it's the Emerald City part. It's the crystal buildings going up. It's in a way it's like Final Fantasy 15, the bit of the meteor kind of going up in like jagged bits all up in the sky. You can see it from
well, I mean,
everywhere.
if you're in Toronto, the like horrifying edition that they just slapped on top of the ROM, it's like that, but every single building, the crystal.
I kind of took over for downtown, so someone else can help with the index card for Skid Row. Skid Row will be represented. If you don't mind, Shane, it's right behind you on the bulletin board, and there's push pins here. You can put that onto the board on the top right. Yeah. And for the clubs is Skid Row. We got the outskirts and the upper crust still to do, but Skid Row isn't like the outskirts of town. It's the wrong side of the tracks. In this, so downtown is the ideal. The core is the ideal, right? This is the mirrors, the lights, the advertising, the chemicals. This is what everyone looks to as our city. But then there's Skid Row. What do the structures look like in Skid Row?
It's just broken glass they've scavenged from everywhere else. Like broken glass and old shitty pieces of sign from...
And what do the structures look like? They're not shining at all?
Well, I mean, they're
shining.
trying. They've got big, like, shards of glass
And
that
the
they
neon
just...
signs flicker on and off.
Yeah, they flicker constantly. It's literally whatever they could take from better places in town.
So they're like magpies. They're just stealing everyone else's
They're like,
shining
we're trying
places.
so hard, guys. They're just taking, like, when there's construction projects, like, you have to watch your mirrors because these people will come in and just take your mirrors. And if you have, like, an unbroken mirror or if you have, whatever you've got, it's, you take whatever you can, and if you have better stuff,
What if
then
we called
congrats.
Skid Row the Shatters?
The Shatters. Yeah,
Does that work?
I like that.
Yeah?
Yeah.
The Shatters.
Like
Or
some-
the Shattered. They're the people who live in Skid Row.
Where they all have bad luck because they all break mirrors all the time.
Oh.
I know.
Yeah, I was going to say the
They,
7-year district.
Yeah, they can't afford this lifestyle that is expected. They can't afford the over-the-counter drugs, the advertising, the lifestyle, the mirrors, the lights, even the electricity. They can't afford any of this. So they steal it because they all believe
If you just had this, you would be
that's
so
the
much
ideal,
happier.
right? And they're caught up into the same prideful fantasy that the rest of the city is. They just can't afford it. So if you can't get it, you take it. And yeah, they take the glass, they take the signs, they break down new buildings that are being installed. They steal drugs. They make their own drugs, right? Everything's like do it yourself, dangerous.
Oh yeah, that
Kinda
like
stuff going on?
bathtub meth.
So we'll take the Shattered and we'll put that underneath the corner, underneath the core, and that's our Skid Row. Thank you very much, Bree. We have the Outskirts as our spades. The Outskirts. This isn't the core. This isn't Skid Row. This is the outskirts of town.
This is Scarborough.
This is away from the bright lights. This is actually, technically, if we're talking about a world where the sun never came back up, this would be furthest into the darkness, wouldn't it? Farthest away from the light of the core is the Outskirts. So what
Yeah.
would the Outskirts, our spades, look like?
They'd probably be much more practical at that point. If you're that far out, you need to have like your own reliant lighting. If you're that far out,
Gas lights?
I'm thinking like gas lights, wood lights.
They don't
maybe
get, there's no
rustic.
electricity, but they
Maybe,
burn, they
yeah.
got their own gas.
Maybe instead of lights, they have like polished copper and bronze. So you
Yeah.
get much more like earthy tone to it.
So they still
Well, and
get into the vanity of mirrors, but they can't afford actual mirrors?
Well,
they want something that doesn't break. Like mirrors break. Copper and bronze. You can
polished
just
metal,
repolish.
yeah, is really hard.
So
to...
what? Yeah, what if the Outskirts, being out in the darkness and out in the side, they got the brass, they got the copper and the gas lights and the candles, but what if they've also rejected this, like, the puritanical laws of the city and the vanity of the city?
I can go one of two ways. Like, are they like much more like outcasts, or are they just much more humble because they don't have as much?
What if they kind of live an opposite life and they don't take the drugs, but they do talk about politics and sex? And they're, in a way, they're more open, but also more sober.
So they're the guys in the sewers from Demolition Man.
I guess the sewers. That's just what I was just trying to think. Cause we've got this image of the bright core of the city, and of the shatters. So we've already got like our broken side. Doesn't seem like there's any point in making the Outskirts like another broken people. But what if they are almost like rebels against
Yeah, they look at the
established
people.
norm.
Yeah, they look at the people in the city.
These are people
and they
who
go,
they can afford to live in the city, but they choose to live in the shadows.
Okay. That's
this is your group of people who look at the people in the city who are always on drugs and refuse to talk about everything and go, "You guys are nuts."
So these are like copper and brass buildings,
Yeah.
brick. It's got more of a Victorian look to it, right?
You call it gaslight.
Or the shade.
The shade.
At the risk of
the shade of it.
self-promoting my Cats of Gravity Falls game.
Oh no, I went the RuPaul route immediately as soon as you said shade.
So
I'm sorry.
so we got
Nothing wrong with that.
we got the shades, powered by gaslight, bronze copper.
So if it's powered by gaslight and fires and all of that sort of thing, is it just like constantly smoky?
Yeah.
Out there as well,
Yeah,
right?
you
You're
got it.
constantly
Everything's kinda
having
covered.
to polish everything because it's
just-
getting covered in
And
smoke
there's
and
just
grime.
a misty
Yeah.
smog in the air when you get out there, and it almost allows for this anonymity. There's no mirrors in the shade. No one. You can go into the shade and you can disappear.
Like they have to have the reflective surfaces to help reflect the
And for
light, but like
for those who
it's-
grew up in the core, always having to see themselves, always on drugs, always under the anxiety of the bright lights of the city beaming down on them, to go into the outskirts and to go into the shade is this like, there's this escape. There's people who must like leave the core and go to the shades, even just for like a
yeah,
day
it's
in
like
secret.
a person from the city going to the cottage, right? Like you're just leaving for a couple days to get your head back,
but with
and
more
then,
orgies.
Yeah, but with more. I mean, I don't know what kind of cottage you're going to, but
So, getaway. I'm gonna put getaway or sanctuary. Who want? Well, no one's gonna get the shade. This is gonna go up on the bottom left corner. Sorry, I got you near the corkboard. As we come up with other leads to the game, we'll get different people to go up to the board. We're just running through the setup here. The final bit, and this will be interesting. Now we've got our business center, we've got our broken, we've got our rebels. The final district for our city of Calypso is the upper crust, represented by this suit of diamonds. The upper crust is obviously going to be
The highest of high society.
sure.
Basically.
What would they? What maybe they don't call it. What do the people of Calypso refer to the upper crust as? Like our High Park, our Bridle Path, for names here in Toronto. The upper crust. What do before we name the upper crust? Then what do the structures of the upper crust look like?
I'm thinking
It's not as business.
Yeah, I'm thinking a
oriented.
little more like more like the core, right? It's light everywhere. There's mirrors everywhere, but instead of being built on top of everything else, like you were just trying to cram as much into the small space as possible, like everyone has. It's more spread out, right? Everyone has a private space.
They got space.
They've got
fine.
space.
Like you wouldn't have the billboards and the 7 neon
No,
signs. You'd
it's-
have more
it's-
like soft white lighting and give it more like a
Yeah.
ethereal
There's still the
quality.
mirrors everywhere because that is what you need. But
The core is all about striving for this ideal. The upper crust is the ideal. It's these crystal palaces. It's glass buildings and mirrors, but like that's this soft white crystal feel to it. This quietness in this like perpetual twilight, and everyone is kind of walking around high all the time, never talking about anything.
Would you just call it the crystal then? Or that'd be too like, ostentatious.
well, I mean, they don't call it that.
Maybe the people in the outskirts and the shatters and the core refer to this place as the Crystal Maze. Because everything kind of looks the same and everyone dresses the same and everyone acts the same. They all take the same drugs. They all say the same things. They've all
very,
kind of.
very like Stepford wives,
Yeah.
right? Everyone is very like.
But it's so relaxing and they go without want that no one ever within the maze. Once you go into the maze, you never come out.
Yeah, you never leave.
Do you want to call the upper crust our Crystal Maze?
Yes.
Yeah, let's
yes,
go
I
with
do.
that.
Kind of like.
I was going to say something like the
Because
shimmer.
all the other examples I've read about this game always have the upper crust as like these like tyrannical overlords who like overlook the whole city from like their high perches.
No, I love
And this is like
that
almost a
it's-
complete reverse where they've removed themselves.
I love
so
that
much.
it's just like Jonan Vasquez's version of heaven, where you just like sit in a chair and do nothing, but you're content. Right? It's just nothing. You just sit there high.
Also, the Crystal Maze is the greatest game show ever done. If you ever into like British shows, look it up on YouTube.
man,
It is
I
so
am. I so am.
amazing. Okay, so the Crystal Maze, and we'll put that up on the top left, and that's our upper crust. The labyrinth. Once you go in, you never come out. It's those who like win the lottery or get promoted
Bowie.
or buy a new place or they finally and they go and then you never fucking see them again.
Yeah, that's it. They're gone.
So we now have our districts and we have our corkboard set up and we're going to be pinning more paper to the corkboard as we go through and we're running out of time on our first episode, but that's okay because this was all about setting things up. We have a few final elements to write up about our city now that we have our districts and our name. This is all starting to like form together, but we got a couple more things to figure out about what Calypso is like. We need to find out about things about our cities. We got our mood down. What's the language like? The words that they use. So when we're getting into character, we can get into that like noir feel of talking about the shatters, right? And the Crystal Maze. We've got a bit of this language starting to form. It seems to be a city that's somewhat realistic, but still has a fairly strange twist to it. It's not completely alien, but it's not like us. Is there any slang words, stuff that we can write down here onto this index card that we can remember when we're talking about life in the city?
So,
people talk about the maze and the shatters and the shades.
I feel like a lot of curse words would be based around like, I feel like being with light would be a good thing, and being without light would be a bad thing. But I just want to also preface that.
So when someone says you're dim, that's like
that's a good way of saying it. I was trying to say like, what's a good way of saying you have a lot of light that does not come across as really, really bad?
But yeah, so like all their curse words and swears and praises are all like light-based
either
metaphors.
Either light-based, or then remember that the people who live out in the dark are also sober.
Yeah,
which is also terrible.
As far as correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know if we got many francophones here at the table, but in English, a lot of the swear words are sexual-based and anatomy-based, and then when you're swearing in French, it tends to be much more religious and Catholic-based, and it goes down that bent. So this language in this city, this swearing, when people get frustrated and angry, it might not sound offensive to us, but it's light based, and we can expand on that as we play more. But if light and imagery is so important to them, then telling someone they should look at themselves in the mirror is
Very matter of fact.
right.
Yeah.
Cursing is light based. Who would like this language so that they can have control over this index card? We've got a few.
I can.
I've got two already.
Everyone else has one.
So everyone else
I
has
have
one.
one.
So someone has to
I'll
get
do
this.
language if you
You'll
want.
take the swears.
Yeah.
Okay.
I will take the swear words.
No, I'll
Thank
touch that
you.
And we've come up with our name for our city, and we have now completed our city. We move on to our characters.
Woo!
We're going to try and get through this. This episode might go over a little bit, but we're going to create 5 characters. We're going to. The deck has been shuffled, right, Shane?
Yes.
Here it is. So actually, it's from this deck we're going to shuffle out our characters, and I'm going to put them here in the center of the table so we can all see. So the first card is a Jack of Hearts, which I'll define what they are in just a second. A 4 of Hearts, an Ace of Clubs, clubs, and 4 of Diamonds, and a 4 of Clubs. So interesting that we have no spades. So no character will be represented from the start from the shades, but we will have someone from the maze, 2 from the core, and 2 from the shatters. We're going to also, I'm going to roll some dice for them as well, and I'm just going to write them down here on the note. For the Jack of Hearts is the Jack is a private eye who is situated out of the core. With the principal, I'm rolling it, never reveal my true self. Interesting.
That's very appropriate for this game.
Reveal my true self. So, who he works for, or she works for, or what this private eye does. The private eye is from the core, and the principle is never reveal my true self. And if someone picks them, we'll figure out the more details of that. The next character was the Four of Hearts, which is a writer or journalist from the core as well. Writer, journalist from the core. With the principle, live always with dignity. Fits right into the puritanical.
Yeah, but I was going to say this character's an oxymoron. Haha, journalism joke.
Well, the other one is also a journalist. The Four of Diamonds.
He's also a journalist.
I'm gonna roll a little differently, so we get a little. The other one is also a writer or a journalist from the Crystal Maze. Same deal from the maze. So I'm thinking probably more likely a writer than a journalist, since there doesn't seem to be like established industries in the maze, but maybe like a famous author from the maze, someone who maybe became a famous author and moved to the maze. Maybe this is going to be my character because I'm obviously filling in a lot of these blanks. Whose principle is tell no lie. And we got two more. A salesperson or industrialist. Which is actually quite favorable because that person will be from the Shades. Yeah. So a salesperson or industrialist from the Shades. Interesting. Maybe this is like the guy who owns the Shades, built this place up. He's like that creepy caravan driver from Pinocchio. So like, come to me, my amusement park. Whose principle that guides them is I want a different one. Never harm another.
I mean,
that's not fun.
do you remember when Justin was like, "This game has no DM"? Do you guys remember that?
I'm just trying to speed the thing up. There's no DM. I'm the only one who read the rule book. I need to create these 5 characters, and then we're gonna pick them. You want to take over?
No.
Justice must be done. I just don't see the point in creating 5 characters that are all the same.
No, I agree.
We want to have a little difference.
I'm just making fun of you. Don't worry about it.
It worked! Got to me. And then the final character, this can be Bree's character, from Skid Row, living in the shatters, is a mastermind and schemer. You can roll your principle here. Roll it.
1.
Never harm another.
Crit fail.
Never harm another. So we have a
I'm
mastermind.
not sure this should be my character after all if it's never harm another now.
You can break your principle.
Oh, boy.
From the shatters. Never harm. Moving around, who has the least number of indexes?
I've got 1.
The Shanes have 1.
The
So
Shanes.
each of the Shanes can pick a character before the 2 of us do because we've already got ours. We have 5 characters to pick from. A private eye from the core, a writer or journalist from the core, a writer or journalist from the maze, a salesperson from the Shades, or the mastermind from the Shatters. Those are our 5 characters to pick from. Shane from Edmonton, you get first pick because
Okay.
you're also the first to arrive because you stayed over at my place and you arrived with me. Which of these 5 characters would you like to choose?
So we are going with the salesperson as opposed to the industrialist?
It can be whatever. A salesperson
Okay.
/ industrialist. You will get to fill in those blanks when you pick that character.
I think I'll go with the industrialist.
Okay. So
Did you want the industrialist?
They were gonna fight it out over that one. I could see it.
You got it.
Because I'm saying, if you're going to do that, I can do the private eye.
you absolutely. The only thing is we can't pick the same characters. But if the 2 of you want to talk it out and you're on the fence about it, and Shane really wants the industrialist,
I like.
Well,
Okay, he can take that one. I'll take the private
well,
eye.
what I
Yeah.
could see in his
Alright.
face was his like favorite game that we ever play is Snake Oil, which is
Oh, yeah.
legit just like convincing people to buy your stuff.
The
I
thing
can
is,
see
the only
it.
thing
So you
I'm
can
going
take-
on is I've got
just
funny.
take that
Is
card.
I've got interesting
just the front
names
one.
for
Okay,
either.
there you
of
go.
them.
And you can take the Jack,
That's the
private eye.
Cool.
And then it comes down to we have 3 characters left, Bree. You can have the writer from the core, the writer from the maze, or the mastermind from the shatters. respect.
I think I will take the one from the Shatters because that sounds like
The
fun.
mastermind?
Yeah.
So you're going to be playing a mastermind from the Shatters, among the Shattered. The mastermind
I mean,
of the
mastermind might be a little strong. I feel like I have a lot to
Shattered. A
live
schemer.
up to here.
The mastermind can also be a schemer.
Yeah, that sounds a little more realistic
The
from the
schemer
Shatters.
who lives in Skid Row.
I like to think I'm a mastermind, but
You like to think you're sneakier than you are. So then I have the choice between the two writers, from the maze or from the core. Because this is the pressure's on me, because whichever one I don't pick becomes our murder victim. And I really like the fact that we don't know anything about the Crystal Maze. But there's something about the four of us that is really invested in this author in the Crystal Maze who has died.
I
And
like
so
that.
we have to enter the maze to solve this crime.
Oh, I like that a
And
lot.
none of us are from the maze. None of us belong in the maze. So I'm going to play the journalist from the core.
Yeah.
Dun, dun.
One character is left unchosen. The character is the victim, whose murder we will attempt to solve together. We will give this victim a name, and if we need any ideas, we can always refer back to our city's language. We'll write that victim's name, draw a picture if we'd like onto a piece of paper, and then draw a big X over that name and picture and pin them to the center of the board amid all four of the districts. At this point, we're done using the cards and dice. We'll shuffle the deck back together, and we will then go into fleshing out our characters. So we must create our victim, and we'll do this on a scrap piece of paper here. We'll tear it out. If someone wants to write. I've been doing a lot of the writings. Anyone else?
Yeah,
want
I
to do
got
the
this.
writing? You got this. So we have a writer or journalist from the Crystal Maze who has died. We don't know anything about the nature of this death. That's kind of the point of this investigation. All we know right now, before we even know our own characters, is this character is dead. What do we want this character's name to be? And given a writer or an author from the upper crust, this must have been someone who was prolific and well known, but also for some reason that we will figure out very important to all four of us, maybe in different ways. And that will be up to you individually to decide quietly. And then we'll reveal our backstories to each other and see how they intersect and be like, oh, this is fucking crazy. Who has died? What's their name?
I have two names that immediately popped up in my head, both just from.
We also have the name bank as well from
Yeah.
Patreon.
This
if
is
we really
true.
want to go
Someone-
to that.
Actually, that's probably a good idea.
Yeah, someone can. Let's kill a
Patreon.
Patreon supporter. That sounds like a good
we
idea.
want to kill
True.
Stephen Prince.
Yeah,
Sure, Steve Chris has died.
All right, so Stephen Prince is our
Stephen Prince.
author from the Crystal Maze.
Congrats, Stephen. This is what your money has purchased for you.
He, and you can draw a little picture of Stephen Prince if you
Oh
like.
God,
right?
yes. I
Does he
will.
have a goatee?
I admit, if Cassie was here as originally planned, I would have asked if we could have named the character Andy, just so I could quote Caboose.
Andy.
Andy, you're dead.
Stephen, you have very messy hair now, and you're welcome. And glasses.
This deck of cards has never been used, so it's all like super slippery and shiny. Yeah, he's interesting
And got a little bit of a beard.
because he's a writer.
Yeah, well, because he's a writer who has time to shave.
Even though he's always looking at a mirror.
I know.
From the maze. So, fleshing out our characters while this is happening. On your character sheet, transcribe details by your card. Your identity, your district, and your principal onto your character sheet.
I don't want to draw your eyes, so you just have like anime shiny glasses now, Stephen.
If you forget your principal, I can tell you I wrote them down.
What's my principal?
Your principal as the salesperson is justice must be...
Okay.
Oh yeah, that
Justice must be
Foley.
done. Justice must be done.
I'm so ready to put this on
I
the board.
live
Where's
always
the
with
ring?
dignity.
Putting the big X through you, Stephen. There you go, Stephen. You're dead now.
And there we go. We've got... Did you draw an X through him? I did. Represent him dead? So we have our victim dead in the center of the board.
He's super dead.
Now, the victim belongs to all 4 districts, which is just important to determine later on. As leads are formed into districts, they can be destroyed. But if the lead that was destroyed is from your own district, you can still use it because you have your own local connections to still use it even after that evidence has been destroyed. The victim, by definition, is already a destroyed lead at the beginning. It can be found through connections to find answers, but cannot be used as an unused, undestroyed lead to find answers. But it is still a point of the line through all the connecting evidence we'll find, starting in the next episode.
Justin, I literally forget everything about myself. I was drawing someone and I don't remember who I am at all.
You're a schemer from the Shatters.
There you go.
You're a schemer from the Shatters whose principle is to never harm.
Never harm. Yeah. Okay. I gotcha.
And then think about the district you're from, and you want to come down. What is your relationship to this victim? Why do you want to solve this crime? Why did the death of Stephen Prince shatter your world? And then think about the district you're from. If you're from the Core, or you're from the Shades, or you're from the Shatters, and then what we've learned about the language and the culture. How would you look? How would you dress? And on your sheet, you're going to see 4 conditions: body, mind, heart, and reputation. One of those needs to be set to the first black square. One of those needs to be set to the highest white square. And then the other 2 will be the dotted lines, which represent no dice. It's a white dice or a black dice or no dice. So one stat is going to get a white dice, one stat is going to get a black dice, and other 2 are going to get no. And you can kind of read the descriptions there in the body: vigorous, able, hurt, broken, wrecked. You can write down sort of like, are you someone who has a good reputation, or are you someone who's got a sharp mind? What's more important to you to begin with? And then pick one that isn't as important. Is it okay if you feel guilty or hurt or conflicted? And that's where we'll start those characters.
All right. Already making bad life
Oh, I guess you're also going to need to
choices.
come up with a name for your character as well.
Also
if you really want to.
That's fun.
Let me rustle some more papers for you while we're all quiet. Foley soundtrack provided by.
No, this is.
My name is Old Man.
Oh dear.
You're just Oldman?
Old Man. You call me Old Man if you want, yeah.
Yeah. Hey, old man.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
What's wrong with Old Man? That's what they call me.
Nothing.
I was going to name him Matthias Tungsten, but that's just me.
Did your character also have a beard? It sounds like a dwarf now.
Well, why not? It could have been.
Are you a boy or a girl?
Oh God, no. No, we're not going back here. Don't
The
start
real
this.
Oak now does what is your style? What is your style?
Look what you've done.
I've got everything else figured out, but I'm still stuck on my name, so maybe you'll help me out. I'll describe my character to introduce you. My writer from the Core is, I've decided the relationship to the victim was actually their editor. We seem to go that they were definitely an author in the maze, well-known writer, and I worked for the company that published, and I was their editor. I was the editor for this victim before they ever got famous and moved into the maze. And among other things, I've decided my heart will be set to guilty. Maybe we'll figure out why I'm feeling guilty later. But there's something here that, did I push this writer into the maze, into this life? Maybe they weren't ready for it. Those are all question marks that I'm looking forward to finding out.
How do you look? Like, what's your appearance?
So being from the Core and being all about appearances, I went with just like that clean business suit. Like, this isn't, I'm not part of the entertainment industry. I'm part of the industry that creates the entertainment industry. Mm-hmm. So it's like Don Draper-ish, kind of very clean cut. Again, puritanical. If we're going like always on drugs, but the drugs I'm taking are the focus ones. They're Ritalins. They're ones that
Yeah, I was gonna say you're the one that's on the dexedrine.
And,
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Everything's about focus and that. And there's a real drive, even just to my appearance. It's just hard edges. everywhere, and true to the colors of the lights of the core. It's all very light colors, not just like a white suit, but like a bright ties and
And with
square
like a
pockets and stuff.
slight shine to the fabric.
I-
It's all like a satiny,
silver watches.
like,
Yes,
yeah.
everything's
I think
reflective.
last name Silver kind of stands out. Like
Silver.
Jonah
Something silver.
Yeah, and maybe like Silver and Associates or something is like the or Silver Press or Quicksilver
work
Press
at.
Yeah.
is the editing company.
Does Quicksilver Press get your editing done quickly?
Just get it.
That's it. You're out of the game.
Do I want to have a first name, or am I just known as Mr. Silver?
Do you want a first name?
I'm pretty sure.
Or is it
I'm pretty
just-
sure someone who from like what
The
do we call it?
core?
No, someone from the Crystal Maze would call you a first name because like they're your superior kind of socialized,
Yeah.
and they would always go like your first name because it's more formality.
So
So what would
is
they call you? Like,
Silver my first name, or is
I think Silver's your last name.
Silver's my last name?
That seems like a family trade name in this
yeah,
world.
yeah, it would be. Man, first name
Marcus.
Marcus Silver.
Marcus Aurelius Silver.
My okay, my first name is Marcus.
Really? Did you?
Yeah.
God
Really?
damn
Two
it.
Marcuses are doing it.
No.
Okay.
Two
No.
Marcuses, two shady.
We're going.
Marky Mark.
No. Okay, how about like Jefferson Silver?
Marty Silver. That's like a slick
Ooh.
Yeah, that matches your
Marty
suits.
Silver.
Yeah, matches
I
your
love
suit.
it.
Marty.
Marty.
All right,
Hey, it's Marty.
Oh God.
Marty
so
Gras.
we got Marty Silver.
Oh God.
Has anyone else done their sheets?
So Marty Silver, from the core, the editor for the victim. And it's a professional relationship.
It's getting complicated soon.
But maybe like sometimes editors and writers, their relationships go back like Neil Gaiman's editor worked with for like 30 years.
Yeah.
They're close friends, family. So
Yeah.
but like family that pays the bills for you. like
My favorite kind.
coattail family. Yeah. So who would like to introduce their character next?
I can go next. So I named my character Marcus Bigby. He's a PI in the core. He's got the typical like gumshoe style look, but because of the city, it's like a lot cleaner looking. So he's like his suit always looks pressed. He's always clean shaven, and you typically see him while he's out and about. You typically see him with an inhaler, with some sort of drug that keeps his wits sharp. So he's always got his wits about him.
That seems to be a real like the center of the core. People aren't taking opium. They're just taking speed. They're just staying awake all the time.
Pretty much.
Yeah, it's all
this is
performance
literally
enhancers.
this is a city that never sleeps and then takes it to a very literal end. I forgot to ask. You have to ask me questions as well. I'm reading the book as I go. Where did you spend the last night?
The last nights, let's see. Generally, because there's not really like quote unquote crime in the core. There's like the typical stuff. He'll typically take like research jobs for writers and stuff like that. So he'll do like recon on a certain subject or area. So basically, he was doing research for another novelist.
Okay. I spent last night just again, I guess, never sleeping. At my desk, editing and typing. Just Marty Silver doesn't have a life. Marty Silver's work is life, and where he lives, even if he remembers, he hasn't been back in ages. He's always in the towers. How long have you lived in the city, Marcus? Your whole life?
No, I'm going to say Marcus has lived in the city for about 10 years. He's got himself established as a dependable PI.
Okay. I'm going to say Marty grew up in the city, but before the mirrors and the advertising and everything, as a kid, everything was much more like, well, a little bit more like the outskirts were before the sun stopped showing up. And but as the city kind of descended into almost, do we want to say the city almost went into chaos and then was saved by this like lifestyle?
The chemicals?
Or the chemicals and the mirrors
I
and
would
the vanity?
say, as the holder on the card for chemicals, I would say it was definitely like production was down. There were suicides. People were not feeling good. And it was just kind of like they needed some way to just move on with life because they couldn't deal it otherwise.
Because I want to throw in with the billboards as well. Like maybe Marty sees himself as a group of people among the advertising community that, like, saved this city. Like this culture is what kept us alive and going and focused and happy and kept order through. So he's lived in this city his whole life, but he also feels like the city owes him one after everything that we've done to entertain and to provide and to inform. What's your principle?
Mine?
Yeah.
Never reveal true self.
Why is that your principle?
I mentioned that he only got into the Corps about 10 years ago. So there's the possibility he might be from the Shades.
So you don't want anyone to know your shady past?
Exactly. Obviously, people from the Corps don't trust people from the Shades, so he wouldn't be as trusted if people found out that's where he came from.
Interesting, yeah. So you have...
And he might have, like, ulterior motives.
You have a literal shady past.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. And my principle, live always with dignity. I mean, I think that one's simple. For someone who works and lives in the Corps, image is everything. And it's just it's a vanity thing. It's a pride thing. Never show them. Never show your cracks. Always look dressed. Always look ready. It's a little bit American Psycho with like the morning routine and the setup and that. Like it's smiling so hard he's gonna break. And maybe that's the guilty part in the heart. But the principle, live always with dignity. Image is everything. And if they don't see you as a dignified person, then they don't see you at all. So those are ideas of the questions. I know I was going back and forth between Shane and I, just because we forgot to do me.
Right.
Shane, other Shane, the OG Shane. Introduce your character to the table.
My character is known as, well, they call him the Old Man, but if he has a name, I guess that's Peter Reynolds. He's an industrialist from the Shades. He has a big beard. He wears big glasses. He's usually seen wearing a heavy duster that has many pockets. He has a slight limp in his left leg, and he carries a cane. And on the head of the cane is kind of like just a very like bronze-esque head of a bird.
I've seen this.
Shane actually owns this, by the way.
You could have shown up in character.
I almost did, actually, but I was running out. I actually had a bowler hat I was going to wear.
Okay.
Anyways, he is an industrialist from the Shades. His relationship to the victim, this is going to sound like I read your sheet, but I did not, is that he was in correspondence for a book that Steven was working on.
Yeah, what was your, you're an industrialist salesperson, right?
Yeah, I'm an industrialist from the Shades. So that's because basically he's talking like the character over like, I'm assuming they don't have like email, so by, old school mail.
Carrier pigeon?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's actually would be another element here in the city. We want to ask, what is the level of technology? Is there mass communication, or is everything just done by mail and post?
I feel like
I like
tubes?
the idea. I
Like
like the idea of
1960s.
like some kind of like a mail system, like a snail
Tubes.
mail system that's maybe slightly better than ours, than just tubes.
Okay, tube mail.
Little mirror.
Who would like
tubes.
the index card to tube mail?
it's
One of
us
you
too.
guys, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll pass it over to you.
Okay.
I would want to ask, because right now we have two professional relationships to the victim, and I would like to
Vary it up.
vary it. I'm willing to change mine. You're from
Well,
the Shades,
If
right?
he's from
I'm
the
actually from the
Shades,
Shades, yeah.
is
Do
he?
you want to have a
were you-
relationship with the Private Eye here who
But-
has a sordid history from the Shades?
But he doesn't want anyone to know his past, though.
But you do
But
know
you
his
know
past
him.
because maybe you grew up together.
You
Maybe
might be the
you're his
reason
old
I'm there.
man.
It could work.
Are you his old man?
You're his
I don't think I'm
long
that
lost
old.
father.
Maybe.
Dad?
Is he the is he the son that's gone off to like
say-
the City of Lights?
Let's say like a mentor figure.
Well, let's see what that happens. But you don't have to like decide if like there's some.
Maybe
blood
not a
relation there.
biological old man,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
But yeah, I'm the general like person, old man. I watch out for people. The guy is like has a whole justice boner. He like
So you're like
justice
his-
must be done.
Daredevil to the stick. You're his stick
I don't know the reference
from Daredevil. You're the guy who trained Daredevil.
Stick was the guy who trained Daredevil
okay.
in martial arts.
Cool.
like he everything he learned as a Private Eye, he learned in the Shades with you
As a salesperson.
as a salesperson, as an industrialist.
Oh, he is right. He is
But
a
you know
dustman. He's a
you know your
dustman.
way
Yeah, yeah,
around
yeah.
people. You know.
Yes, that is the case.
Picked up my street smarts from you.
I guess that works because I am sharp in the mind. And I do. Have a
So then
guilty
let's
heart. Oh my God,
tighten the
that's
noose
genetic.
here between the two of you and the victim. You were just doing a report on him for another book, But again, what if there's more going on? Like, I feel guilty for putting him into this world, into the crystal maze, but he obviously is not, like, he wasn't born in the crystal maze, or he wouldn't be close to two people from the Shades and a guilty editor from the core. This is a person who rose to fame and was brought into the maze and then has now died, never seen again. Maybe he also came from the Shades. Maybe you have a similar history, the three of you, in this same background. You went off to be a PI. You went off to start your own industry and stay in the Shade, loyal to it. And he went off to become like a celebrity demagogue.
Can I change my relationship to make it easier for
Absolutely,
people?
you can.
Okay, hold on, sorry.
This is all part of like the conversation. I'm just trying to I'm just like trying to tighten the binds and make things like more
Okay.
I'll just
really
say,
put it
like,
on the line. Why? Like,
relationship.
you got to be willing to put your life on the line.
Sold
for this investigation.
him
the idea that I kind of had for
drugs.
yeah,
New relationships. That's
the idea
now
that
you're
I
a
kind
drug
of had
pusher.
for
So
Stephen
you
Prince-
produce the uppers and the shades that you send into.
Oh no, I'm producing stuff that's not in the freaking core yet. Like, you think that in
He's
the
the
Shades
designer
we're
drug
not
man.
doing anything?
So you're Chanel.
I don't even know these references. Am I old now?
you're the
No,
pop
Chanel is a
reference.
fashion reference, and I haven't taught you appropriately.
to
apparently.
perfume, and now you're out there in the fields finding new flavors to make
You-
into
you are-
movie
you
stars.
are-
Yank in the city. Let's put it
You
that
are
way.
the Alexander McQueen of like designer drugs.
See, I know
okay?
that
Yes.
because the book
Yeah.
on the counter, which you made me
Yeah.
read.
Oh my
He's dead, isn't he?
God.
So dead.
Okay, cool. My name is Alexander McQueen. I'm changing it.
No.
No, it's too late. Old man, a.k.a. Alexander McQueen.
We're
He
just
died this
referring to him as
universe.
old man, right?
Yeah, we're referring to him as old man.
Alexander
Okay.
McQueen.
So
There's something I feel like I should mention, but I'm worried it might mess with my principle of never revealing my true self.
you can reveal. This isn't in character. Reveal.
Okay, the inhaler's fake.
Oh,
So
you
he's
don't
not
take
on
the drugs.
anything.
Oh, it's so good. Snap. You keep up the culture of the Shades. You've never really given in to the drug culture of the core. That's what makes you a good PI. 'Cause
Yeah.
You're always seeing through everyone's clouds.
Yeah.
He's like Clark Kent with the fake glasses.
Oh, I love it.
All right, I love that.
If he puts down his inhaler,
Like
do we
the whole
suddenly
idea
recognize
is
him?
the real reason that I'm there is that I'm kind of running like an underground railroad
Yeah.
kind of thing for people who want to get out of the core and get into the Shades so they can get off the shit.
And here's me trying to get more shit into the core.
So you're, the two of you are like antagonists,
Now
but you have like
yeah.
we went from like
a
potential
history.
father now to straight up against each other.
Okay. And do you want? So you've got all this money from these designer drugs that you made. Maybe you fronted the money that got his writing career started, and he started with you. Like you're his patron.
Like,
That sounds like something old man would have done.
I kind of had this idea that
I'm not selling him drugs now.
Well, you're selling,
you're selling him
drugs, and you're
drugs,
selling,
but-
you're selling everyone drugs. But your personal connection to him is also. He came to you going like, I need a start to get this career going. I got this thing I've written. I think it's going to be great. It's
Well,
about
and-
life in the Shades. It's a true crime. It's all these things going
Well, and
on.
are you selling him drugs? Like, if you buy into what Calypso is selling, right? Like, you think you're selling him these drugs to help him. Like, you're not selling him these drugs to hurt him.
no,
You
like,
think you're still
That's
helping
the thing
him
is
by
like,
giving
I'm
him
like,
the
if
best drugs.
If I financed him to get a start, and
Yeah,
I'm like,
and then you
like,
continued
here,
to sell
I'm
him,
I'm
like,
sending you,
excellent drugs
here's
because you
drugs
believe in
so
him.
you can like become
Yeah.
a better writer. I hope I didn't kill
To
him.
ask you the question that I forgot, Shane, what
Right.
did you pick for your stats?
for my stats.
Yeah, did you choose?
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure I did the stats right, but for body I went able.
Yeah,
For mind I went
you
sharp.
have a sharp mind,
Yeah, for heart I went guilty.
guilty heart,
And for rep I went overlooked.
overlooked. So you have a guilty heart,
Correct.
but your mind is sharp because your inhaler's fake.
Exactly.
Where I'm calm, able, guilty, and trusted with my reputation. Like everyone knows, if you like you can trust me. I got a great business. I'm a good editor. I've got successful clients. I'm a trusted member of at least the core community. These names are great. So Shane, where did you spend
I
the
have,
previous night?
Wait, you mean like where my stats or where was I last night?
Oh, well, let's talk about your stats first.
Oh, okay. I was my stats. I have a hurt body. I'm calm of mind, content of heart, and wait, this has to be overlooked in rep.
Yeah.
There we go.
So you chose your body to be down and your heart to be up.
Yeah, because otherwise I have the exact same stats as other Shane.
Because you want justice to be done.
Yes.
Is your principle. Why do you feel so strong about that?
Well, growing up in the Shade, like, you kind of always feel like you have to be self-sufficient. Like, we do our own lighting, we do our own, like, buff the copper. So it's kind of like your word is your bond, and, like, if you have something, you have to own it. Mm-hmm. So, like, if I put so much time and energy into, let's say, this Stephen Price fella to get him up, get him going, and, like, I honestly believed in him doing good shit, if he's, removed from a situation, then, like, something has to be done about it.
Yeah. He's one of your own. Right?
Yeah.
In a way. I mean, if you come from the Shades, you're always from the Shades.
It could be something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. And then I guess we've already determined, like, you've always been, like, you're just an institution. You're the old man.
I'm the old man.
So there's no point in asking, like, how long you've lived here, because...
No, because
I'm
the old man who apparently sells drugs. That's my industrialism.
Yeah,
dealer.
but because it's not like an underground thing, right?
It's true. It's
like,
true. It's just
That makes you an upstanding
like
member
you're
of
Willy
society.
Wonka, right?
You're-
Like, but you're
my god.
like everyone knows that, like, you're not an upstanding member of society because you're from the outskirts. You don't really fit into what society in this city expects, the puritanical, the
I'm selling
mirrors to
artisanal
light.
Yeah, but they
drugs.
put up with you because you sell such
Because
great
you're a
drugs.
savant.
Yeah.
I'm like Etsy.
You're a savant. Yeah, you were the Etsy of drugs.
God damn it.
We're getting sued.
Bree,
So Kijiji then.
you're the final character to enter the stage.
Hi.
You're also the only character from the Shatters.
I am.
Your character, introduce them to us, please.
So I go by Fortune because I've decided that in the Shatters, your real name doesn't matter. We all name ourselves. We're trying so hard to get into the core that you give yourself a name that you feel like embodies what you're looking for, and we'll just go with that. And your real name doesn't matter. Nobody knows it. Do I even remember it?
So, Fortune from the Shatters, what's your relationship to the victim, Stephen Prince?
He was my personal inspiration. I've stolen every book he has ever written.
You're a hero.
Yeah, he was.
You
my
read the stories
hero.
of, like, coming from the
His
Shades.
stories spoke to me.
Yeah.
Like, he was my hero.
What's your favorite Stephen Prince book?
Oh God, no! I have to come up with names for things.
Yeah, we're gonna make a new element.
Literally, he had a book that was a little bit autobiography, a little bit fiction, because he always took from his life, and if you looked hard enough, you could find it. It was literally called From the Shadows. And it was the story of how he started nowhere and, through hard work and perseverance.
This is a big part of the Calypso culture, are the Stephen Prince popularity books. Bree, you've already got two. Does everyone
Yeah.
have two
Shane
index cards?
has one.
You have
That
one.
Shane has
so
one,
then
so he
Shane,
gets
you're
From the
gonna get
Shadows.
you're gonna get ownership of Stephen Prince's books.
That's very appropriate, actually.
That actually kind of works. He
Yeah,
probably
it does.
gets like a
Not
cut
your
from off the
character.
sales.
Just to be clear, these
Yeah.
elements don't
Yeah.
belong to your character. They belong to you, the player, in your role, in our shared role as game master, so that we can all work together. So the last bit, do you have any relationship to the characters at this table? Or you just you're just,
I am
we're gonna
trying.
meet you
The
during this
whole
investigation.
bedrock of my character is that I am trying so hard to get into the core.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she started out in the Shades. Like, her.
Did you ever send any submissions to my office?
Absolutely.
So I
You
get
try and
I get a
stop
lot
me.
of Fortune fan fiction in the mail.
Now that said, you would probably want to have like a relationship with me, so you could be like a contact of mine, like, because it sounds like you would have like
You guys establish this during the story too.
Yeah.
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 This
Well,
would
but
sound
this
like
is-
you would
this
have
is
like
the way-
underground
yeah.
knowledge that I would want.
Yeah. I can be your person in the Shatters because I'm trying so hard to get into the core. Like, her bedrock is she was raised by really, like, parents that have rejected the core life entirely, and by the time she was old enough to be on her own, she was like, no, I hate this. I'm going to the core.
You don't
and
belong in the
left
shades.
forever.
You don't belong in the core, and you find yourself in the crack in between, and you want to get in.
Yeah, and I
but
want to get into the core just so badly. I'm all about
You
that.
want to go through the looking glass.
And yeah, she tries so hard.
That's called
right?
going
She's-
through the looking glass. class in the city when you make
I
the
love
transition.
it. I want, she tries to dress sharp, but everything is obviously a couple of years old and like a little tattered and dirty, but she's trying so
That
hard.
is so last year.
She's constantly chasing the ideal of fitting into the core.
And what is your principle?
My principle is to never do any harm to anyone.
Why?
Because I think it's more of like an anxiety thing, right? Like if you do harm to someone, they'll notice you and then you have to actually like kind of, they'll notice you and then you have to tell them why you're there, right? Whereas if she can just fit in well enough that no one even notices her, then she's there. Like you can kind of sneak into the core is what she's going for.
Okay. We finished.
That also seems like something that I would have an effect on, like, you let me do the dirty work and
Yeah.
you just stay out of it.
Yeah, like here is the information. I don't want to know any more about it ever. Bye.
Exactly.
So we have our city, our districts, our victim, and now we have met our investigators. Stephen Prince has been found dead. Step 5, the final step before the end of this episode, is we learn about the murder. What happened to Stephen Prince? Now we've all got our connection to the victim. We all know why this is important to us. We're going to draw 2 cards from the deck. These will become our first leads in the game. The leads can be people, places, and things that'll help us solve this mystery. The first card that I'll draw, or whoever will draw, I don't care who draws it, will be the scene of the crime. The second will be the thing, an object found at the scene of the crime. And then we already have the other lead, who's the victim himself. We'll then figure out what the 2 leads are, where they were found. There's tables that are provided. I got them printed out here. We'll describe the location with a few evocative words, give it a name, write it on a piece of scrap paper, and we'll pin it to the corkboard in the district that shares its suit. So it might be a park in the Shades. It might be an office in the Shatters. It might be a bunch of things. We'll draw the card and we'll find out. And then we'll do the same thing for the object. And then we'll decide what state the victim is in. Is it clear how they died? Is the cause of death apparent? Is the truth different from how they were found? Were they placed there because they were killed somewhere else? That's a good place to then also gauge how graphic we want this game to be. And then from there we'll have all our pieces will be set on the board, literally, and we'll wrap up the episode. And next week we'll begin our first scene in the investigation, and we'll actually get started. So. Where did I put that deck? I was shuffling it. I don't know how good of a job I've shuffled it, so I'll also have here, Bree, you can split. And we have our first card. If you look at the table, there is a 3 of hearts, Shane, and we're looking for a place. So the identity places. Oh no, that leads people,
Yeah,
places.
here we go.
Yep. So
So
a
an
3
office.
is an office in hearts, which is a core. Stephen Prince was found. Their body was found in an office in the core.
Whoops.
Oh God, was it my office?
Oh, no.
What if it was your office? What other office would he be
Did I
in?
discover the body of Stephen Prince?
Oh, dear.
Fuck.
You had a bad day.
Okay, we're gonna have to write that down and put that up on the board.
I gotcha.
Same deal here. I'll have Old Man, if you want to split the deck. In the office at the core, a 2 of spades.
An official document.
So an official document, really?
Your
From
day
the
is
Shades?
getting so much worse.
Oh,
This
God.
is so freaky because we've already established by the narrative that that Stephen Prince was from the Shades and has a relationship with the editor. Fuck! I want to solve this because I want to prove I'm innocent. I'm gonna become a suspect. Not only is his body found in my office, but is found with a document, an official document from the Shades. What document is this? And do we
boy.
want to maybe wait to find that out in the game when we play?
Let's do
I
the
think that
game.
should be a mystery, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Just
there's
an official document
there's a
from the
document
Shades.
from the Shades. Proof? Maybe about the PI's history or his relationship with the old man, or maybe something from his own past.
No, joke's on you guys. It was fan fiction.
It was just fan fiction from Fortune. They call it fortune fiction.
Oh, God.
Maybe in oh, maybe people like you in the shatters who want to go into the core, who write this stuff and try and live that life, maybe the people call you like the glimmers. And things like that, like
Or we call ourselves the Glimmers.
right, like you've got like
Make
all
it
these things,
sadder.
like you're glimmer fiction.
I love it.
So
We have meetups on Thursdays.
So let's
sounds like what
write down
hardcore-
those two pieces of evidence.
I got them.
And you can draw maybe the office or the doc. I mean, there's nothing to draw. Also write the district it's from.
I drew you a sheet of paper.
Okay, and draw the district it's from. The
Oh,
suit.
yeah, on it.
So the just draw the suit. We've got a club and we've got a heart. The
Yeah,
heart for
so
the
the-
location and the club for spade.
That's
Sorry.
a spade.
The
I was
spade.
gonna say,
Sorry, the
Justin,
club
what
is the
have-
shatters.
What have you done?
Club is the shatters.
Okay.
Clubs and
That's a
spades
spade.
they're so almost the same.
Wow.
And then
I'm
a
just
heart
hitting my own microphone. Don't
is
worry
found
about
in
it.
the office.
I'll go pin those.
just
Or you
wanna-
can pin them if you want.
We don't have that much space on the board,
Oh, okay. I'll just.
so I do want to make it look like hastily found evidence. And then you